Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Well, welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist, an author, and the creator of the Awareness Integration Theory. So thrilled to have you join me. And I promise it's a conversation that I'm positive every one of you have experienced it more than once in your life in different times. So in this episode, I talked to Tami Kiekhaefer. She is a licensed social worker, clinical social worker, and is a seasoned psychotherapist for nearly 25 years. And she's in private practice in Colorado. As an author of From Chaos to Calm, a 6-step strategy to breaking through anxiety, and that's actually the book we're going to be talking about. She also has been an author of Preparing for the Jungle, Avoiding Snakes and Pitfalls on the Path of Healthy Love. She empowers high-achieving women to break free from anxiety, trauma, and relationship challenges. So Tami's approach blends practical strategies with deep self-awareness and helping clients build confidence and resilience. She also shared that she is a yoga teacher, so she brings a lot of mind and body techniques, very practical techniques in how to bring and blend your, calming down your body and bringing, your thought process and your rational mind into a lever that you could definitely get back your control, especially when it comes to anxiety. You could catch her at healthyhealing.net, healthyhealing.net. I had a great conversation. Obviously, we're both therapists, so we talked a lot about, how to deal with anxiety. And I'm sure that you will really relate to it because every one of us goes through anxiety in different times of life. Now, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, my YouTube channel, and connect with me through my website, foojanzeine.com. Share your thoughts with me. What are some of the topics that you like to hear from me or our guests? And I'll definitely bring that for you. Don't forget, go to Foojan app on Apple or Google Play if you have Android. And get Foojan app. You can go through 31 areas of your life. We found between 70 to 80% improvement in each area of life where people have used it. And then also in the app, we have the AI, your personal Mira, which is an AI chatbot assistant, and it's trained Mira. We've trained Mira in awareness integration theory. So you could ask Amira anything about your life, and she responds to you. It makes it individualized to you based on the awareness integration. So let me know how your experience is. I'd love to hear it. Truly love to hear from you. And that's where we get connected together, and together we could keep making it better and better, whether it's the podcast or the app or any of those services. Without further ado, here's Tami Kiekhaefer.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and Dr. Manoukian, three experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now. Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy, developed by Dr. Foojan Zeine, is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing Awareness Integration Therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.
Well, I'm so excited to have Tami Kiekhaefer with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on here today.
Of course, from two fellow therapists, we're really going to talk about anxiety, something that I've had, I'm assuming you've had, I'm assuming every normal human being has to go through experiencing anxiety. And it's interesting because it's one of those feelings and emotions, and I'll say both feelings and emotions that is normal for all of us. And yet, sometimes we all get surprised by it or have no idea what to do with it. So I'm so glad that you wrote this book, From Chaos to Calm, a 6-step strategy to break through anxiety, because everybody does have it, experiences it. But to also share about what is like a normal anxiety and what we do, and then what is a little bit more like a neurotic where we get stuck into it, and how it elevates, it causes a lot of other issues and illnesses and diagnoses and all of the other stuff. So I'm so excited to be able to share all of this with you.
Great. Yes. Well, as you know, and you've already said, I really don't know anyone that doesn't have a little anxiety. And that's where, I think you're right. People will call me all the time, and probably you too, saying, I don't really know if I have anxiety, but something just feels off. And I think there's a whole spectrum. There's a spectrum of anxiety is just an emotion. It's like anger and sadness and jealousy and happiness and whatever. It's just an emotion. So it just means that your nervous system is kicking on, going, might be something to pay attention to, a little bit of a red flag. And then there's the spectrum all the way to where anxiety sets in and can be habitual and can be debilitating in your life. So I think that I don't know anybody that doesn't fall on that spectrum somewhere along the line.
Yes. In your book, you also talk about the roots of anxiety. So partially, as we know from a physiological angle, anxiety is one of those emotions that says, knock, knock, watch out, it's there for our protection. It doesn't feel like it's there for our protection, but it's there for our protection. So can you share a little bit about how you explain where the roots are?
Yeah, I think really I try to simplify things for people because life's too complicated anyway. So if I simplify anxiety, it really comes down to not having a sense of control over your environment, which then is the second part, is your cognitive process, where it kicks into what if and worst case scenario, and that can just spiral you down. So I really try to think of really those are the two things that are causing anxiety. And so when you start to experience it, I think the first thing is awareness, like, something is happening inside my body. And I think your body is always talking to you. So when you're hungry, your stomach growls. When you're cold, you get goosebumps. When you're tired, you yawn. Your body is always talking to you. And if you can manage the symptoms of anxiety when they're small, you can really help yourself to avoid getting them to that out of control space. So the awareness of just sort of that, what am I not having a sense of control over in my life right now is one of the first things that really I find has been a route to where it starts.
Absolutely. I think there's a conversation about how do you handle your body, because your body is giving you some message. So there's a way to handle your body to calm it down. And as you said, we noticed a lesser intensity degrees in what to do in how to calm the body. And then, as you said, we go then to what kind of a thought process is kind of igniting and, creating all of this. So when it comes to calming your body, what are some of the ways that you share in your book in, not only becoming aware of your body, and then what do we do in order to calm it down?
Yeah. I'm also a certified yoga instructor, and so I have incorporated a lot of those body-centered yoga, meditation, calming techniques into my practice. And so I think that I also have a little bit of a competitive edge to my personality. So you know what I do is I do a lot of breath work. But even when I'm at the doctor's office and they put that cuff on my arm, I will see how low I can get my numbers by doing my breathing techniques at the doctor's office. And it turns into sort of this challenge that I have for myself. But the thing is that it works. And so there's your proof right there that when you can calm your breath, just focusing on your breath, that will send a message to your nervous system to just start to calm down. And you can even do an experiment if you take your pulse on your wrist or something and you take an inhale, you'll feel your pulse speed up a little bit, but then on your exhale, your pulse slows down. And so that's why when you're trying to breathe to calm yourself down, you want your exhale to be longer and your inhale to be a little bit shorter. So like breathe in for 3 and breathe out for a count of 5, breathe in for 5, breathe out for 7, and so on. And then the competitiveness comes into where you go, okay, well, how high can I get my numbers in my breath? But then don't pass out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've added singing to it because I think people, when they're counting, sometimes they're like, they get bored. And I'm like, just sing. take on something that you really love and just sing. Because that's what we do with singing, right? We just
yes,
longer and longer and longer when you a tune. So it's like I'm going, oh, and then they get all perturbed about the numbers. I'm like, if you can't handle numbering stuff, just sing. Don't worry about it.
Don't let it stress you out. Yeah, exactly. That's defeating the purpose.
You shared a very important factor, which is the breathing, which is simple and all of us can do it. This isn't something that you're like, okay, I can't do this. This is too hard. We all breathe anyway. So it's the idea of actually awareness coming to and becoming in tune with your body, and then purposely, instead of your body controlling you taking on some control onto the body and kind of allowing it to calm down. And as you said, giving the body the message that I'm not in any danger, that everything is safe and it's okay. And then when you take it and you have a 6-step strategy that takes someone from that kind of a chaotic concept of what's going to happen to me, what's happening to my body, oh my God, what's the worst thing that can happen, like the horror movie that we create for ourselves. And you have a 6-step strategy to take us from there and that type of a chaos into the calm. Can you share with us?
Sure. So I think, yes, and in your body, I don't know what the percentage is. Maybe you do. It's something like 80 something percent of people who end up in the ER because they think they're having a heart attack is actually just a panic attack. So don't quote me on the number, but it's high because those symptoms that your body gives, it does feel like you're gonna die. Have you had a panic attack before?
I've had a high level of anxiety attack, but I haven't I have not had the one that I'm choking or panicking that I think I'm going to die, but certainly a high level of anxiety.
High level.
I'm shaking and sweating and
yes,
like I get dizzy, I get dissociated from my body. I definitely have those.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'd say that's pretty darn close. So, yeah, and I've had the kind where, I've ended up taking myself to the ER and sitting in my car outside. Should I go in? Am I overthinking this? And if you're thinking that, you're likely overthinking it. But yeah, I think that I think that the steps that you have to take, immediately you want to get in there and you want to fix it. But what fixing anxiety requires is your brain to come to terms with, I'm safe. Wait a second. This is crazy. Why am I even going there in my mind? And the thing is that that's your left brain activity, is to assess your situation. And your left brain activity is not even available to you immediately. So you have to back it up. And that's where I really try to encourage people to stop, activate, just take a pause and activate your left brain so that your right brain can calm down. And so the thinking behind this is that you cannot use both sides of your brain at the same exact time. And your left side is your logic, your analytical, your fact-based. Your right brain is your emotion and your creativity. Well, there's no fact-based in anxiety. It's all future. If I were to say, oh my gosh, what if you lost your job yesterday? And you go, well, wait, I didn't lose my job. And I said, yeah, but what if you did lose your job yesterday? And you go, yeah, but I didn't. And then that's the end of it, because your brain gets really bored. And it's like, this is a dumb game. I'm not going to play this anymore. But if I said, what if you lose your job tomorrow? You feel a whole sense in your body go, oh my God, I don't know. What if I did lose my job tomorrow? So that fact-based, your left brain goes to sleep when your right brain becomes very active. So you have to do exercises to try to activate that so that it can show up, so that you can use your analytical thinking to assess your situation. Otherwise, you're just using your creative mind, which is like a monkey in a jungle, and it's just going from vine to vine to vine to vine, and you're just spinning out of control. So really trying to activate the left brain first, and then get into your breathing techniques. And there's a variety of those that you can do, as well as a variety of left brain activities. And then you are actually able to show up to say, whoa, what's my situation right now?
Mm-hmm. And how do you activate the left brain? Because there's other conversation that says that you know, as long as your midbrain is going whacked because it's feeling that it's that something is in danger. So as long as your frontal cortex, regardless, left brain or right brain, is not even working because your midbrain is going.
Yeah, panic mode.
So there's the conversation of whether it's the chicken or the egg first. And by the way, there was an answer with the chicken or the egg first. There was a actual research that came out.
Oh, really?
The chicken.
What's the answer?
Well, it was inside the chicken. The chicken had to, when they were creating the egg, at that moment there had to be a mutation in the animal's egg, so that the next one would have the next mutation, which would be a different. So it is the egg. It is the egg inside the chicken is the egg chicken that actually does. Thank you. That confused everybody who's listening or watching. But my point was, sometimes the conversation is that you gotta, with the breathing techniques, that you gotta remind your body that everything is okay and safe. But you're also saying that even if the reminder is showing up to say you're safe, it's because you're activating the left brain that says, hey, it's safe. And then you do the breathing that calms down, right? And then some people say, well, you just do the breathing to calm it down anyway. And then you can activate your frontal cortex and say, okay, what's going on? So that's what I wanted you to explain, because people hear different different angles of this.
And I take it to, I don't know, when I've been in that space, I'm second guessing everything I'm telling myself. Even if I know everything's safe, my mind is constantly, I think of it as like these little antennas, and it's just looking for something chaotic or in that moment. And so I really shifted to something completely unrelated. Have you ever done those Sudoku? What are those puzzles, the numbers? And those are amazing for anxiety because it's counting, it's up and down, it's left to right, it's your squares, it's your blocks. And it has nothing to do with your situation. And that's really what I encourage people to do, is don't keep thinking about your situation, because you're not even trusting your gut feeling anyway. But when you do a puzzle like that, all of a sudden your left brain is very, very active. So you can even think of times when you're doing your taxes, when you're filling out a form that's your name and your birthday and your address. And when I have a client who comes in, they have to fill out all the paperwork. So you want to go over all the paperwork, and they're very like with it and together. And here's my name, and here's what, my insurance, my card. But then when you say, well, so what brings you in today? Or what are you looking for? Like, boom, there it's the tears and that's exactly left brain, right brain. And so when you can activate it by doing something completely unrelated, it at least allows, it's like a teeter-totter, at least allows a little bit of leverage there so that then you can say, okay, hold on, now I'm ready to look at my situation. And what is it that I don't have any control over right now? What is it that I feel like I don't have any control over? Because no matter what your situation is, you always have a little bit of control over that situation. And sometimes you have to dig for it, but it could just be disengaging. It could be, it could be taking a pause. It could be looking into problem solving. It could be, but you've got control over your life. And I think that's where you start second guessing yourself when you're feeling just like everything is coming at me and I can't do anything about it.
So it's interesting what I was hearing also you saying is that my world might go to the outside, looking outside and saying, I can't control anything over there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sharing that there is something that I can control over here. I might not be able to control something over there. And that's where I'm looking at. But
yes.
if I begin looking at there is something that I can control about me around that idea. So such as, I can remove myself or withdraw or, even distract. Any of those pieces could be a possible gaining control over something that I don't. So for example, with the example you were saying, what's going to happen if tomorrow I lose my job? Yeah, I can't control if somebody fires me on the other side, but I can control what is it that I may do tomorrow when I go to work. What is it that I may do if I actually have an idea that I might lose it? Can I start looking for other jobs? Can I start? So there are areas that I can focus on where I can do something versus trying to control outside of me, which I possibly can't right then. But with what I do, I might be able to influence it, right?
Yes, yes. And I'll even, for your listeners, if this is helpful, I'll even get a piece of paper and I'll fold it lengthwise. And on one side of the piece of paper, here's no matter what, I cannot control this. And then on the other side, it's what I actually have control over. And to me, writing it out is different than in control, out of control. I mean, these are things that you actually have control over. So if you take losing my job, oh my gosh, what if I lose my job? I don't have control if HR comes in and says, we need a meeting with you. But when you swing that over to the other side, and here's what I have control over, you can look at your skill set. You can update your resume. You can get on LinkedIn and start making connections. You can give yourself credit because anxiety high, confidence low, confidence high, anxiety low. That's a teeter-totter also. So when you're in an anxious spot, your confidence tanks. So you forget, wait a second, what is it about my skill set that I'm marketable around? What have I accomplished? What are my jobs that I have done successfully? What you're going to find is your list of the things that you have control over is so much longer than the one thing that you've got over there that is making you feel out of control. And that in itself is like, that's a game changer.
Yeah. There's also other topics of anxiety that some of them are existential anxieties, such as, you move from one phase of life to another, or, you're anxious about illnesses, or you're anxious about death, or you're anxious about loneliness. There are also some of these where there could possibly be a completion of the past and redefining who you are within that phase of life, which is a little bit of a different process than some tangible item that is in front of us and we can move around with it, right? Like people who have anxiety about illnesses and death, or they do have an illness, so then therefore they have a anxiety about becoming completely dependent on someone, which some of these anxieties is almost like, it's not that I'm out of control with it, it's just that I'm anticipating it happening, and I'm anticipating being uncomfortable, and I'm resisting it, and therefore the anxiety shows up, right? So, for example, if I'm going from high school to college, I'm finishing my universities and got my degrees, and I got to go to the workforce. So it's almost like it's not that it's not going to happen, it's actually going to happen. But my anxiety around something new and novice, which again, it feels like I'm out of control because it's new and I've never done it before. So I'm kind of like anticipating all of these things. And some of it is exciting. Okay, I'm moving to a workforce and it's going to be moving my life forward. But you also have the anxiety of, end of life or retirement, or coming to completion of one phase of life and moving to the next, and not necessarily seeing a lot of positivity in the future as it comes. So these are all other types of anxieties and topics that show up, that the way we have to deal with it is a little bit different. Can you share a little bit about how your 6 steps also works with this type of anxieties?
Sure. I heard you say a lot of things. One, about transitional stages in your life. And then 2, you touched on avoiding, because who wants to feel that stuff? And so I think that I have a theory where, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I just notice it in myself and I've seen it in my clients. But I believe instead of just one midlife crisis, I feel like every 7 years, and maybe it's the older I get, when you're younger, I think you have many, many, many midlife crises because you're developing so quickly. But maybe it's around 30 something, or I don't know, I'm 52 now. So every 7 years, I find myself going through a new midlife crisis. And it kind of makes everyone crazy around me, but that's just what happens. But I think during that time, it is a transition. It's whether my kids, I've got 2 kids and they're in college now. One's getting ready to graduate college in a month. But when they're going through their developmental stages, I feel as a parent, I've gone through those developmental stages also, or these, like, it's their development stage and I'm going, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not mommy anymore. Now I'm mom. Oh, okay, so now you're driving. Okay, now you're moving across the country to go to college. And I'm doing this catch up. But in my personal life, I'll go through these transitions, and you're absolutely right. There are so many unknowns. What is empty nesting going to feel like? What is changing jobs going to be like? What is retirement going to be like? We haven't done these things, so we don't have a confidence in ourselves because we haven't proven to ourselves we can do this. And so I think that one is recognizing I've been through some crazy stuff before. I've been through a divorce. I've been through job changes. I've been through not having health insurance because I'm self-employed. I've been through some stuff. I know I can make it because I made it through those things. I'll figure it out. And there's that confidence piece. I think that when you're talking about the avoidance, I don't know. I think avoiding something that you're anxious about is like throwing gasoline on an anxiety fire, because you avoid it and you're just giving that thing so much more power. And so what I help people do is face it. Now, I don't think that you need to jump into a snake pit if you're afraid of snakes. I definitely would never do that. But incrementally, by chunks, start to face some of the things that you're afraid of. Because if you don't, you're just telling yourself this, your internal dialogue, which I think has a ton to do with confidence and anxiety. But your internal dialogue is telling you, you can't do that. That's going to get you. Don't even go down that path. And that's a slippery slope to get into.
Very much. And you're talking about the like surviving to thriving, and really finding, as you say in your book, your story of resilience. So it's finding what I've done and knowing that I am capable of coming through, even though I don't know something, that I have the ability to learn. I have the ability or resources to go and check them out, ask people, go to somebody who's done this before, has gone through this stuff before, and more information. So so what you're saying is also, as we start looking at our life and not only focus on the vulnerabilities, but also focus on the strength and the resiliency that I've had, that gives me the confidence to,
Yes.
I might not know this particular angle, but I am capable of learning. And that piece by itself, it brings a little bit more of I'm in control. I'm in control of this area. And I don't have to know every single thing that happens. And I sometimes share with my client or audience that, we get up and drive every day. We kind of know where we're going, but you don't have a guarantee about every single, mile that you're driving, that not only you will always do the best, your car will always run the way it's supposed to, all the lights are supposed to be doing, every other driver and pedestrian out there are going to do their job. You don't have those guarantees. We kind of just like jump in our car and go along, trusting ourselves and kind of trusting the world around us.
Yes.
That, we're just going to get there.
Right.
And we usually do. Once in a while, there might be an accident somewhere, but usually we do. So it's looking at, the only thing I'm trusting myself at that moment is that I'm coherent enough and aware enough to be able to sit through, and I've got the skills of driving. Everything else, I'm kind of like leaving it to chance. But
which feels super uncomfortable. Like what? I think that anxiety, things like driving, that's such a good example, because it can be sequential to where, I don't know. Okay, so I live in Colorado and it snows. And I got in an accident one time in the snow, and I slid off the freeway and I went into the median, and there was someone who slid off right before me, and I actually hit that person in the median who had already slid off. I was terrified of driving in the snow again, and that is not conducive living in Colorado. But I would see the clouds start rolling in, and I would start getting anxious. And if I had to drive in the snow, I'm like, white knuckling it and just probably being more of a danger because I was so afraid out there driving in the snow. Well, I went through some counseling, I went through some therapy, some EMDR. It was super helpful. But if I hadn't have taken if I hadn't have pushed myself to get back in my car to start driving in the snow again, all of a sudden I'm like, I can't drive. And then it turns into, I can't go into my garage because that's where my car is. Okay, now I can't go downstairs where my garage is. Now I can't get out of my room. Now I can't get out of my bed. And, these are extreme cases, kind of, but you see where people just start to avoid and avoid and avoid, because you just named it. It was the vulnerability and the trust. And you really have to, again, chunk it down into small, tiny pieces to where you say, wait a second, I've driven before. I've driven for decades before. I have a car that works. I keep my oil changes up. I get new tires when I need to. I don't text and drive. I'm very aware of my surroundings. Like giving yourself credit for everything that you're already doing to make you a good driver. And if the conditions outside in Colorado are very not drivable, I'm not going to drive because it's not going to be safe. So you have the ability to do those executive functioning type activities to keep you safe. But you have to remind yourself that, because otherwise it's just like, oh my gosh, there's so many unknowns. I just can't leave my house. And again, very slippery slope, but also common. Especially with the pandemic, I think. Yeah, sorry.
That that was definitely anxiety producing for a lot of people. And, we all came through, most of us came through, but
Uh-huh.
it did create a lot of anxiety and panic, not just because of the pandemic itself, but how the pandemic created so many different angles, such as working from home. And we had everything became new. The whole world became new, and how we had to actually face it. And yes, some people panicked, and some people handled it, and some people handled it after they panicked. So yes, there are times that there's a collective anxiety that we feed each other and move forward.
Yes.
There's a collective concept that happens. Obviously, with social media, we could also attach ourselves to some of these topics and keep keep hearing the same thing because of the algorithm. We go back, and I don't know about you, Tami, but I've had a lot more teenagers who are even adolescents, like going into even ages like 10, 11, 12, because of the social media, becoming much more anxious because they get fed these type of ideas, or they think that everybody else is so much better than them, and I'm not going forward. And what if they say something about me, and one person says something nasty about someone, or you get a nasty comment, and then because you're out of control with those comments, then you think that you make the worst out of, oh my God, if everybody's going to read it, what are they going to think of me? So we could see that there's so many reasons that anxiety has gone elevated. The news is always like, watch out, this happened and that happened, and this is all the horrifying thing that is happening around you. You watch the news and all you see is, the shootings and, the murder and things that are happening around you. So there are a lot of stimuli that's coming from outside world that also induces it provokes our anxiety about saying, okay, I'm in danger and I have no control out there. Your chapters, you actually say, hey, yes, all of that is there, but let's celebrate and embrace the power of anxiety, because anxiety itself also is powerful, and it's it has a use. But let's see what we could do. So can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Oh my gosh, so much that you just now said. I think that yes, there are opportunities to have a panic attack everywhere you look. There are also many opportunities to say, I don't feel like I need to go there today. And anxiety is just an emotion. It's anger, it's like anger, happiness, sarcasm, I don't know, joyfulness. It's just an emotion. And so I think of it as like a cloud. Like, you look at clouds and you make little pictures out of clouds, and then you're like, oh, come look at this, and then it's gone because it's changed. Anxiety is an emotion. And when it comes in, you have an opportunity to say, okay, let me stop and assess my situation. And maybe it is telling me something. Anxiety keeps you alive. Back in caveman days, or out in dangerous situations, anxiety is what kept people alive. It keeps you alert. It keeps you on your toes. It gives you that boost of energy if you need to react, if you need to run, if you need to your fight, flight, freeze. It's got some purposes. Sometimes it's even motivating. I don't know, when I was in school, I'm a big procrastinator, and it wouldn't be until, my paper or something was due the very next morning, and it would be the night before I'm pulling an all-nighter, but man, I got it done, and so that was anxiety of giving me that extra, like, you have to do this now. So it'll offer a sense of urgency when it's needed. So yeah, I always have little tricks and stuff that work, that I suggest that because they worked for me. But I've named my anxiety. When I have anxiety, her name is Marge. And I have to decide if I want Marge to show up, or if I thank her and I say, nope, I don't need you right now. And to me, it's something kind of external, because I'm not anxious, I'm experiencing anxiety. And so it allows an external type of thing. And then it's something where I'm talking to something. So it allows me to be more of an observer. I'm not part of the story. I'm observing, and I'm thinking, is this something that I need to react to? Or am I grateful? I think, another piece, you can't have gratitude and anxiety at the same exact time. So when you can have some gratitude, all of a sudden there's a shift that happens in your body. So I can be grateful, as silly as it sounds. I can be grateful for the thing that my body is doing because it's reacting and it might be keeping me safe, but it allows me to take a pause, assess the situation, and decide if I really need to jump into that story or not.
Beautiful. All right, everyone, go get this book. It is From Chaos to Calm, a 6-step strategy to break through anxiety by Tami Kiekhaefer. Anything, Tami, that we haven't shared that you want people to know?
I think that it's really just giving yourself credit, giving yourself permission, just really trying to dig in and give yourself the sense of worth and that you already have. A lot of times we already have the answers inside of us, but it's okay to go get help. It's okay to get some guidance. It's okay to reach out to someone, because you can get creative with your tools and your techniques. And I love talking to people because I'm like, half the time, wow, I've never really thought of it from that perspective. Thank you so much for telling me that. I mean, we're always learning. And so yeah, I encourage people that it's okay to have anxiety, but it's also okay to give yourself permission that you don't have to live in it.
How can people find you?
The best way is my website. It's healthyhealing.net. And from there, I've got all of my links to Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. I've got blogs on there. I work remotely, so it gives me the opportunity to be able to work with people within Colorado, but also around the world. And I'm happy to help people wherever they are is where I start. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
It was beautiful to have you. Thank you so much for writing the book and sharing with us one of the most common concepts that we all kind of face throughout our life.
Thank you so much for having me on here. It's been a pleasure.
Same here. For all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Break free from the forces holding you back. Get the life you deserve. Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, decrease depression, and start living your full potential. Thousands have used Dr.Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory, an evidence-based behavioral health breakthrough with incredible life-changing results. Getting rid of past trauma, having fulfilling relationships, increasing earnings, and living their best life. Now, the Foojan app is available to everyone. The app is Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory in the palm of your hand. Download the Foojan app today.